Street Fighter 2 is an amazing title that would change the course of many of our gaming lives forever. Functioning as a blueprint for the majority of fighting games that were to come, it is no wonder that we look back at this one so fondly. Despite multiple iterations of the all-time great, and being rebalanced over and over, there is no denying that as brilliant as this classic is, it is still very flawed in places. But what else can you really expect from a title that delivered so many firsts in gaming? As pioneering as this celebrated fighter is, the title features cheap, unfair AI designed to drain customers' wallets, and still lacks the competitive balance that many more refined fighters would later receive. As the genre continues to evolve and be built upon, a dedicated fan with the help of other passionate people within the community has taken it upon himself to build his own version of Street Fighter 2, one of which looks to fix some of the unaddressed faults which are included in the now legendary older versions. So holding all of these thoughts in mind, hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. This is the story of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo New Legacy, the ultimate Street Fighter 2 game. Yeah! Street Fighter 2, the most important fighter in all of video game history. When you bring up Street Fighter 2, most people can remember the amount of crazy updates that this arcade release saw back in the 90s. There was the original arcade edition, the World Warrior, that set the standard, Champion Edition, also known as Dash, which unlocked the bosses, mirror matches and refined a bit of the gameplay, Turbo Hyper Fighting, which cranked the speed up and unlocked new attacks in response to the bootleg scenes Rainbow Edition, Super Street Fighter 2 for new challengers that added 4 new characters and a complete revision of the audio and user interface, and finally Super Turbo, known in Japan as X Grandmaster Challenge, which added the likes of super meters and an unlockable secret boss fight against Akuma. From here the Street Fighter franchise would diverge down different paths, bringing us the live action movie and its accompanying games, the anime influenced Alpha series which would function as a story prequel to Street Fighter 2, the Street Fighter 3 games which, while were graphically impressive, would present a new generation of Street Fighters some years after Bison's defeat in the tournament, the EX series which would explore the franchise in the third dimension for the first time, and finally the Capcom Vs series, which would pit Capcom's heroes against an ever-increasing arsenal of Marvel heroes and villains. Despite all of these various evolutions, Street Fighter 2 would go undeterred. Years later, official remixes and improvements would come along, a few of them even offering upgraded visuals, hand-drawn sprites, and even new characters such as Violent Ken and Evil Ryu. While various more modern interpretations of Street Fighter 2 were created, Capcom cut out making drastic changes to the characters after 1994 Super Turbo, with everything past that point being more remixes or reworkings, rather than a refinement of the classic. Over 30 years removed from the original arcade release, this has left it to fans to carve out their own legacy. A new legacy. Indie developer Bonin SPD has crafted what may be the ultimate ROM hack of the franchise. While you may need to sail the pirate seas to experience it, Street Fighter 2 Turbo New Legacy looks to update the Super Turbo iteration, with all the bells and whistles you'd hope from it. Described as a Brazilian Super Turbo player known for his work collating frame data for online databases, Bonin SPD gives this interesting breakdown of his innovative project.
I worked on this for roughly 5 years, on and off. This ROM hack is a compilation of the rebalance ideas I had over the years. They're mainly either my own or from good players, non-Japanese, I talked with. Replacing Super Turbo with this ROM hack was never the goal. I think that will never happen, not even Capcom can do it, let alone someone else. See this as a tribute to Super Turbo, not a replacement. If people see this as a valid side game, like some people sometimes play Hyper Fighting or Hyper Street Fighter 2 or even other fighting games, that would be excellent for me already. But if that ends up not happening, that's okay too. I did this for myself primarily. This was a hobby to me. It was extremely fun to tweak the game. I learned some interesting stuff by doing that. It certainly made me understand the game better. That is enough to me. I'm sharing it with everyone simply because, in my opinion, the results are amazing, and I don't mean to be arrogant with that. It would be a crime to keep this for myself. I definitely didn't take the change as little as possible approach, but I did try to keep the playstyle of all characters without many changes, unlike what was done for Faye in HD Remix, for example. An exception to that are part of the old characters, since they're hyper fighting inspired now.
Other developers and artists contributed to the project in various capacities, with in many cases new sprites being drawn to fill in attacks that could use a bit of a boost, and graphics being included that were just outright missing, including the new logo and a portrait for Akuma, a character that never truly had one in the original arcade releases. While his plain black portrait, seen as part of his encounter with him in Super Turbo, certainly added to the Shenlong-like mystique around the character, a portrait would have been nice when we entered the cheat mode to unlock him on the main character select screen, something which Capcom deprived us of. These expanded character and art designs are powered by a custom palette swap app developed for this project, ensuring that every player will find some sort of colour combination that works for their personal preferences. Characters have been upgraded to 25 colours total, which in addition to the 10 they had by the time Super Turbo came. Later, official Capcom titles would allow a character colour correction tool, which would lead many naughty internet users to try to make Cammy look as nude as possible. They'd also lean into official palette swaps with Violent Ken and Evil Ryu, who were absent in this game, but were always a bit broken and a cheeky way to get extra characters into later editions. At this point, even 3 stages, Ryu, Ken and Dao Sims, have been updated to feature new palettes themselves. A number of the stages evolved over the iterations, and getting to see Ryu's stage at dusk, or Ken's docks with red skies, breaks up the monotony somewhat when you've played the same levels for nearly 30 years straight. Even a simple look at the character select screen shows that Akuma's been upgraded to a selectable character instead of being locked behind a button combo, and a random character option has been provided for those wanting a bit of variety in their player selection. Alongside a new arena selection option, the quality of life improvements provided in this upgrade definitely make the title a bit more palatable to players who may simply be used to what Street Fighter IV offers as a default. Even little things like finally having a notification when a player completes a reversal throw was forgotten, or Capcom simply were disinterested in it back in the day. Now when a reversal throw goes through, it will pop up like first attack and other alerts throughout the game. The initial release came out on February 5th, 2020, on the eve of the coronavirus taking over and wrecking all sorts of upcoming big release games. Through this strange period of uncertainty for planet Earth, these indie developers took the downtime as a challenge, and they've knocked out an additional 6 major updates, with the latest as of this time of this video being from July 9th, 2022. Examples of changes include the removal of the infamous Barcelona loop. Vega is considered a top tier character in Super Turbo, and was even soft banned in some Japanese competitive tournaments as a result. This is in part was due to his ridiculous wall dive loops being incredibly difficult to stop. In New Legacy, the move causes a fast knockdown now, giving opponents time to wake up before the deadly manoeuvre can be attempted again. It's many examples of tweaks like this that make a New Legacy so different from any updates of a game put out by Capcom in recent years. Released as a free experience on Fightcade and MAME, the game surprisingly doesn't require any sort of ROM patching or other ventures down less than questionable paths. MAME even treats the game like an actual arcade ROM, with dip switches allowing players even more of a granular control of the game, turning aspects like the timer, background music and turbo mode on and off. With these early releases, the Shilluminati notes:
while streaming on Twitch in April 2020, American 2X players Riz1 and Mega Man X tested the early beta and facetiously considered running a tournament for the unexplored but familiar game. Passion met pressure as community members kindly urged we turn the light-hearted comments into reality. One of those community members, Sabin, who also is among the earliest members of the fighting game community, was brought into the equation as our premier streamer, and version 0.3 was ready for tournament play, a reflection of the 2X in a parallel universe. The tournament series called 2X in the Mirror was born. This would also be the boom of Riz1's path into organising tournaments and building a community for all generations of Street Fighter players. Throughout the 2X in the Mirror events, Born 2 PSD has taken feedback from notable players and character specialists and implemented them in to further enhance the balance of the game. Another light-hearted comment, but also reality, by Riz1 is Born 2 PSD is the most knowledgeable person in the code and frame data of 2X on the planet.
Over the litany of pages describing each and every change made to every character, beautiful hitbox data is available for those that completely want to know, pixel by pixel, how Ryu's roundhouse will connect with M. Bison's face, for example. The general consensus over the pages are that the egregiously overpowered characters like Akuma will be whittled down a fair amount, but most characters are meant to be buffed up to greater capabilities. The goal is that no character has truly poor chances against any other one. This doesn't mean new moves or skills have been added. Ryu's not going to make it across the screen with an upgraded Dragon Punch, Chun-Li's spinning bird kick won't ignite her opponent, and the Dictator Bison will not be throwing Psycho Energy fireballs. Instead, characters have simply been refined to try and maximise their potential competitively. Beyond the official website, both a Discord and the Baron Wiki have popped up to explore further, and in native English. While the title appears to have gone under the radar of most major news sites, which could be due to its a fan mod nature possibly running afoul of corporate Capcom's promotional interests, there's a definite word of mouth vibe with the game. Hopefully the attention I'm bringing to this title will help get the word out further, and we can see more people uploading gameplay videos showing off their matches competing within this ambitious rebalance. This is certainly an interesting chapter in Street Fighter II's fabled story. Perhaps most excitingly of all regarding this project is that its creator, Born2SPD, still considers this lovingly crafted hack to still be in its beta stages, with the latest version of the game being labelled version 0.6. So therefore it doesn't look like we're even close yet to seeing New Legacy in its true, final, refined form, making the future of this endeavour very exciting indeed. Keeping everything I've discussed about this one in mind today, this raises the question, would you ever like to see Capcom take hints from the hard work of these developers and once again rebalance the title? Or do you think we have enough official versions of Street Fighter II in existence to already last us a lifetime? Maybe it's time for Ultra Street Fighter II, the final challengers, to itself receive a new update. After all, Final Fantasy and Final Fight have proven that it's not always the end when you have final in the title. Regardless of what your opinion on such a matter is, why not give Super Street Fighter II Turbo New Legacy a try yourself, and see what you make of the many changes that have been made to competitive play. Anyway, if you are new here, make sure you like this video, subscribe and leave a comment down below, then check out my ridiculous video covering Street Fighter II 18 Persons Edition, a ludicrous illegal version of the game developed in China back in the day for the Sega Mega Drive. Cheerio.